Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 21st, 2022 at approximately 1:43 p.m. PST. There are a lot of opportunities coming in that keep showing up, about how you can quickly drop your weight, quickly gain a whole pile of extra money, you know, cut this corner to get ahead. I'm telling you, everything that I have run into that talks about doing something quickly. Here's a free promotion for you. Understand, quite literally, when you're given a shortcut, okay, more often than not, you're literally getting exactly what you pay for. Think of how many buildings people have bought, built, where they've cut corners. They found a quicker way to do something. Now, yes, there is no question some of these claims are true. You can absolutely, there are some medications out there that absolutely will help you drop pounds off your weight. Like pounds in days as compared to weeks. But you got to recall, you got to look at the downside of that. That came out really well. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind everybody that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, now there are some people that will not like it, but here's what I've discovered. Okay, if you're finding a real quick way to do something, or no effort, here's a great return, there is almost invariably a catch. Now, where it comes to suddenly dropping weight, okay, where you just take a pill and the weight goes away, all of that excess weight that you've got right now has to go through your liver, it's got to go through your kidneys, it's got to go someplace. Now, if you're dropping the weight in that much of a hurry, what they don't necessarily tell you is that weight has to put a strain on your kidneys and your liver. Now, I'm no medical doctor by any stretch. Okay. Well, I guess you could stretch it far enough and go I am, but it's kind of like saying I'm a rocket scientist that's never set foot on a rocket construction site. Nor did any of the advanced mathematics to do the calculations. But when I look at something that says here's a real big deal, like I got another call from somebody, and I've been getting calls like this like for years. Did you I saw your name on a winner's list. Have you got your money yet? And I'm like, nope, haven't got it, not interested. I've had these calls for years. Right. Well, I wouldn't contact you if I hadn't already got my money. Well, that may well be the case for that individual. But the reality is, I've been getting the same message from various people for years. And the way I figured, if I'd been on some sort of a lottery win, the people that are running the lottery would have gone, hey, you won. Of course, the real kicker to that is I actually would have to enter the lottery. Okay. Now, when we look at weight, dropping weight or gaining finance, okay, I'm also no financial advisor aside from the method I use works. Okay, and the method I use is simple. Keep track of of how much money is in your bank. If you haven't got the number written down already, go to the bank, go to your bank books today and write down what's there right now. Okay, doesn't matter how much it is. It could be $1.50. It could be $10 million. It doesn't matter. The same method applies to everyone. And that's the value. That is the value. That's the difference of the tools that I work with. Okay, is the tools that I offer. Yes, they're ones I personally use, but they're ones that apply to paupers and millionaires. Okay, if you write down the amount of money that you've got in bank right now, and then on the 1st of August, compare your money then as to what's in your bank now. If you're up by 1 penny, you've moved ahead. Now, you'll notice I didn't say anything about cut back on how much you're spending or anything else at this point. I'm just looking at what you're doing personally, okay, at this point. So if you're down, if you're up 1 penny, you're moving ahead. You're doing better than you were. If you're down, the scale that I use is measured in 2/10 of a pound, just a little less than a quarter pound. If you're aiming at dropping weight, you check your weight now, and on the first of the month, you check your weight again. If you're down a quarter, a quarter pound, if you're down a 1/10 of a pound, you're still dropping weight. Now, this is using your current methods. And that's what I'm looking at right at this moment. What are you using? What is happening with your system? Okay, with the method you're using. Is it working? Now, if the answer is yes, it's working, then great, stick with it. If you're looking for a slightly more advanced version without actually getting a quick fix, because quick fixes, to my way of thinking, I've been offered opportunities where somebody has said, I'll do this for you, it'll make you a lot of money, it won't cost you a nickel. And then nothing happens. Or worse, all I need, all I require is $1,000 for a setup fee. But it'll increase your finances exponentially. Well, I'll tell you, taking that method has cost me a small fortune. Okay. Am I likely to turn around and get the money back? In time. As soon as I get done, I've spent the morning basically looking at my office going, okay, I'm not content with it. Okay. I've been looking at my office going, I'm not content with the layout. Right. Now, I used to sit around and get bills in, and it's like, oh, look at that, I've got a bill. Well, we'll put that away and leave it alone. But I will tell you, that doesn't work that well either, because they still tend to stick around. The reason I do this, by the way, while I'm sitting here, is because this is a question of it being a live recording. Meaning, this is simply the way that I do things. Okay, when I get done this, I'll double check the date, make sure I got the date right, and then post it as is. Okay. Now, what do I got here? Well, that's a bill I'll have to. Because I didn't bring my stapler over with me, I will have to deal with that as soon as I get done here. But procrastination has never done a thing for anybody except postponing. Ultimately, what you're looking at when you're looking at procrastinating, is you're postponing the inevitable. And truth be told, no matter if you put things off, the only time you can change anything is right here, right now. And every one of you is in exactly the same position. None of one of you is able to operate differently. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day that told me they go back in time and change things all the time. And I'll tell you, that's a cute thought. It really is. But everything I've looked at, and one of these days I'll have to get around to actually doing a recording on that, probably a live feed. Okay. Which is not entirely a bad idea. Okay. There are so many people that talk about, they're working on time travel, which is a cute thought. Here's the problem. If you're looking at time, there's an old saying that goes, if I only knew then what I know now, I'd have a different life. Probably. But then again, if you hadn't met the people you met back then, you also would have had a different life. By the way, you also wouldn't know what you know now. Because the reality from that end is you've got the life you've got now because of the decisions you made. Some of them were good, some of them were not. Okay, you're going to have to decide what to do with it. Now, you can keep beating yourself up over what you did wrong. Or you can look at where you are and go, okay, where am I now? I can't do a thing about where I came from. That's where I am. That's how I got here. But I can alter the way my life is. Now, if you'll notice, okay, if you look, especially over on this desk here, that's my painting desk. It is completely devoid of everything except this little item here. Remember that thing about procrastination? Works great at accomplishing absolutely nothing. That just about came out wrong. So it hangs up here where I can make sure that it fits. Okay. Now it's where it belongs. I don't have to worry about it. Now, you look at where you are. Okay, if you know where your finances are standing right at this moment, that literally boils down to go onto the online and check your bank account. Mark down where your balance is right now. If you're up 1 penny by the end of the month, okay, never mind adjusting anything. Okay, then you're ahead. If you're aiming at dropping weight, the one thing I will tell you is most people look at weight and go, I've got to lose weight. Well, there's a problem with that philosophy. And that problem is that in most cases, people have been taught, you yourself were probably taught when you lose something, go looking for it. Well, the drawback with weight is you go looking for something, right? You go looking for something, and for the other things, you find them, you're great. You go looking for, you lose your weight, you go looking for it, it usually comes back with company. Okay. Now, politely put, the biggest difference between myself as a spiritual guide and most other people I've talked to is I'm not going to tell you, fear everything around you. I will tell you, the path that the world is on right now is collapsing. I've seen it before. It happened in Rome. It happened when the monarchies were basically phased out. Okay. It happened. People didn't listen regarding the dangers of unhealthy, unclean living until the Black Plague hit. When the Black Death hit, everybody went, oh, this is really bad. Eventually, they got through it. And eventually, we'll get through everything else. Okay. It's kind of like the stock market. The stock market took a tank, right? Now, I have no functional idea anymore how the stock market works. I should probably read up on it. Okay, and re-educate myself. But the reality is that you're not making the money that you promised in most cases. Probably not the greatest thing for me where it comes to dropping weight. But I like the flavor, and I'm not worried about it. Okay. I'm sitting here looking at the world and looking at you and going, are you content with your life? I wasn't content with the clutter in my office. Well, the clutter in my office, especially over on my painting table, is now gone. Okay. Now, oh yes, that funny little thing I did last Saturday, I think. I think it was last Saturday. I ended up with a lapel mic. Okay. Now, right now, it seems to be recording. At least that was the way it looked like at this point. I got somebody to help me plug it in, my other half specifically. Well, that's not all that specific. They helped me get it all hooked up, so yeah, it's still plugged in. But apparently, it works a little better than the mic off the computer. Problem is, if I change anything, I end up scrambling. And if I unplug it and plug it back in, it tanks a whole bunch of things, and I don't know how to straighten it out. We've done it 3 or 4 times. Sorry, technology and I do not get along. I keep telling myself, and I keep telling you, if you tell yourself you're going to fail, then, whether you believe you can do something or you believe you cannot, either way, you're ultimately going to be correct. Now, that on the whole is correct. When I decided I was dropping weight, I went, I'm dropping weight. I'm not getting this high. Now, has it been a straight drop? No. there are advances. There are a varying situation. Same thing happens with with the stock market, with your bank account. Okay, it will fluctuate from time to time. This is why you play the long game. Now, if you're aiming at if you're striving to do something and to do something well, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Now, am I a financial whirlwind? Absolutely not. Hurricane on occasion, yeah, but they're not near as finesse. They have much less finesse. But do I know what I did that created a problem? Absolutely. And this is why I just found out going through my old files. I've actually got records all the way back to 2007, minus the last 4 years. Like I've got them all the way to 2018. The drawback is in 2018, I had a stroke. Now, I can call that this is the reason. Frankly, it's an excuse for why I quit tracking things. Okay, but I'm going to go back. I've actually started already getting things set up to do it. To go back and find out exactly or as close to exactly how much money I spent on my writing endeavors. Okay, and how much money I've subsequently made. So I will know when I get done all of it. And this is starting back in 2007. Since it's all digital, it doesn't matter. Okay, in other words, I don't have to worry about trying to find the paperwork for it. I know it's all gone. Okay, but I cannot change what I did in the past. All I can do is assess where I currently am. You're in the same boat. When you're looking at your finances, you're in exactly the same boat I am. Whatever brought you to where you are, you may not be able to prove. Okay, you may not be able to look at it and go, this is what I did wrong. But you can look at it and go, I'm not happy or I am. If you're content, keep it the way it is. Okay, in this office, my next real step is to take the shelves over here, these ones right behind me here, and get them sorted out. So that's just going to be inventory. That's just going to be the books that I've got for sale. I'll bring the ones that are out in storage now and bring them back in the office here. But this shelf here that you can't see is full of junk, and all it's going to have is more inventory and active office paperwork, like the office things like my pens, my pencils, that sort of thing. The comical part there, you'll see these drawers over here. I've got those ones there. I've got pens and what have you in there as well. So this is what I mean by streamlining. Make sure you've got get your office running properly. The sooner you do that, the sooner the energy in your home will start working properly. Okay? Because the more streamlined it is, the less clutter you've got around you, the quicker you'll think. And the way to look at that is this. Essentially, the way that you're feeling, the way that you're thinking, the clarity or lack thereof, is reflected in the way your house looks, or in the way your home feels. Now, considering it's all tied together, okay, it's all literally interlocked. It is, if your living area is a reflection of the way your mind is, it also stands to reason, at least in my eyes, that your mind is a reflection of the way that your living area is, or that your workstation is. Now, when it comes to that side of it, it is easier to change the physical look of your place or the energy flow by adjusting the layout, by sorting things out, than it is to change your perspective on life. Now, I'll tell you, I've got some pretty bleak outlooks on life, especially where it comes to dealing with people. Okay, and here's why. It has come to my attention in a very blatant fashion. I've had to deal with some pretty big corporations. It turns out that the big corporations, yes, they can produce work for less cost. But what I have determined is in most cases, they do not put any functional effort into the people they're working with, the people they're charging. Okay, when you deal with small companies, they turn around and they pay more attention to the individual client. It will cost them more, yes. So it does cost me more to turn to smaller companies. Okay, I don't turn to a major because I bring somebody in twice a year to actually clean my carpets, not to vacuum them. But I do recommend, if you're not up to handling your own housework and you can legitimately afford it, bring somebody else in to deal with, to pay somebody to come in and do it. This is not a question of embarrassment. Okay, this is a question of functionality. So when we're looking at that, okay, I bring somebody in twice a year to do my carpets. Okay, because I frankly do not feel like, I don't like trying to do that much with it. But I don't turn to these major companies. I heard of one the other day that they bought a smaller company, and the people that were dealing with the company, when the company got bought, all of a sudden the service completely tanked. Okay, so will it cost you more to go to your local companies, to the smaller groups? Probably. Likelihood it really will. Now, I will tell you this. When I'm looking at the stuff I work with, okay, I found that the trade-off of slightly higher cost and better service for me personally is absolutely on the money. Now, I was in a shop one day and I loved the way they put it. Okay, it was a power company, and this wasn't the other day. This was, heavens, it'd be 20 years ago, but it was a beautiful sign. Right. And what it said, it had a sign over the back wall, over the counter, right? And the sign said, fast service, good work, low cost. Pick two. Okay. Now what that tells you is you're paying for what you get. Hate that. Trying to sneeze and it decides it doesn't want to. But I can't do anything about it. Anyway, when you're looking at your own life, your own business, okay, pick the things that are important to you. You're not going to be able to do it all. Okay. Now, I'm managing to get my house, my office finally sorted out. I know I've got a clear vision of what I desire my office to look like. Okay, a couple of things you can't see is that filing cabinet is full of paperwork that isn't laid out perfect. So I can go into it, like I know of one section in particular. Because I use an old style calendar, a desktop calendar to track what I'm up to. Okay, I've got calendars in there that I really don't require, and some of them will be thrown out. But right now, I've got like 4 or 5 file folders that all are for calendars. Well, at this point, I don't require them. Okay, and I'll be going through and dumping them. But it boils down to run your house properly. You've got to have things organized. You've got to have the energy flowing properly. If you're having troubles of figuring out how to organize it, or if you've got questions in literally any other field, absolutely drop me a line either in the comments below, or if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, drop me a line in the comments below. Okay, or take a look at the list below this and every other video, and you'll find a list of different ways to connect with me. Okay, use any one of them. I will do my best to get back to you. Okay, as quickly as I can. Now, let's face it, it doesn't take, and this applies to that thing about relationships. Okay, yeah, I jump around a whole pile, but quite seriously, it is all interconnected. Okay, now it's amazing how many people get into relationships and turn around, and the one partner will say, I haven't heard from him for a while, but he's really busy. Bad news. This is the 21st century. If you're in a relationship with somebody, it takes literally 15 to 20 seconds, even for me, to open up the phone and use the text option. You take the phone, you punch in the numbers and the letters, and you go send. 15 to 20 seconds, you can type thinking of you. Okay, or you can type good morning or good night. We are talking 15 seconds out of your life. Now, if you're in a relationship or if you're in a business and somebody has dropped you a message, okay, respond to them ASAP. Even if all you end up doing is going, I'm really busy, so I'm just going to go, oh, got to acknowledge that. So, got your message, right? Or thanks for connecting with me, and hit send. But remember to make a note for yourself, and this is where that fine little list of things goes. Okay, you make a list for yourself as you're going along. You go, got the mail, I got your request. Make a note for it on a sheet of paper. Okay, if you're using electronic notepads, go right ahead. It's the same idea. Okay, so got your message, I'll get back to you ASAP. Put that on your list, right then, at the top of your list. Okay, and then as you're going through the list, check it off so that it is getting close to the top and you can get to it. And again, this doesn't matter if you're dealing with one client or 15,000. Okay, the same method applies. Okay. Now, there are ways to enhance that little issue, especially when we get into the big numbers. But for the moment, I'm talking about just if you're running your home or a small business. Okay, an email comes in that you know you've got to get to. Just answer correctly, and thank you very much, people. Funny part about this, okay, is part of these, a lot of the reason I record this journey is that it gets me thinking. And there's something that just twigged to me. I get emails all the time. Half of them I'll look at and go, I'm not dealing with it, it's junk. That applies primarily to the scam artists. Okay. But it really, for me it's real simple. I got one the other day and it's like, this is an offer for you. And what I told them was, I'm not interested. Now, that should have been the end of it, but that didn't work well. What I've come to understand is people don't pay attention. If somebody tells you they're not interested, and this really applies in relationships, if you're really interested in crawling into bed with somebody and they say stop, that doesn't mean just push it a little further and they'll get used to the idea. It means end it right then. If somebody sends you an offer and you go, I'm not interested, okay, then take their word for it. Now, sometimes, especially where it comes to business offers, people will go, but you don't know the whole outcome. And this is where I usually look at it and go, you're right, I don't. But right now, it doesn't matter. Will certain opportunities pass by in this respect? Absolutely. But you've got to draw your own boundaries, stand your own ground on it. Okay, and really get straight on what matters to you. Now, with this in mind, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and do stay positive.